I'm George Casey, Chief Technology Officer for Junction Solutions. People ask me what excites me in the current technology landscape, and I think as being a Microsoft partner, one of the things that excites us is this opportunity to synergize your desktop. And the idea, we hear synergy a lot in merger and acquisition language and in big business process, but when we think technology, the idea that my business application can work in conjunction with my desktop productivity suite, my operating system, my portal technology, my database server, all of these components, world-class in of themselves, but when they're working together, now I get a true synergistic experience, and I get more value, and I can get more opportunity. So this is something very exciting in the Microsoft landscape to see these components work together. The other thing we've seen in the 10 years we've been focused on this market is Microsoft continuing to invest and innovate these products such that things happening in Office are designed and developed directly to take advantage of the opportunities presented in the Dynamics AX application. And vice versa, we'll see things in SQL Server around super high volume performance and max availability and redundancy, directly supporting an application like Dynamics AX ERP. A lot of times people come and talk to me about business intelligence and what's the best way to look at business intelligence as a retailer, as a manufacturer, as a food distributor. We've been talking about business intelligence for 20 years, and I think a lot of the 90s and the early 2000s, we were focusing on the idea of getting information from data. We had lots of data sources, and we were kind of collecting transactions, and our entire focus and emphasis was taking that data and turning it into information. And we did that by applying context, applying some meaning. I think the next leap and the next generation, and what world-class companies are doing with these products, are taking that information and following it along that continuum, moving it to insight and ultimately truth. Where I can identify there is truth into a certain marketing investment is going to yield me certain revenue opportunities. Or this type of process optimization, understanding how these transactions are taking place, can change how I go about laying out my warehouse or setting up a distribution network. And that's what's really exciting, especially when you bring in this concept of big data and there's this abundance of data available to help us answer these questions, create models, and predict how these systems are going to play out. That's hugely exciting for people who are starting to get a grasp of that. Microsoft is the first vendor in history to really own the entire business application stack, from SQL Server at the database level, through the Windows Server system and Windows operating systems, into the Dynamics business applications, Office as a productivity suite, SharePoint as a portal technology, Windows Phone, Surface as mobile and tablet operating systems. This has given them the power to kind of understand that user experience across all those dimensions. And now you kind of blur the lines and kind of break down the walls between applications. And it's not an experience where right now I'm entering a purchase order in Dynamics AX and then I have to stop that, open up my email program, repeat a lot of data. I have that seamless integration between those two because the Outlook email application understands Dynamics AX and understands purchasing and can pull that data right through. And similarly, Dynamics AX understands Office, can communicate with Excel, can communicate with Word and SharePoint and mobile. So this is really exciting as a user to be able to consume this functionality and consume this all in the context of my business day, of what I'm doing to kind of achieve my business value. I think what really sets Junction Solutions apart is that commitment to customer over the entire life cycle of their business. And the idea being, we're not just focused on project success. We're not just about the implementation, let's get implemented, get live, and then hand it over. We want to continually partner with our customers to help them gain business value throughout implementation into kind of post-conversion, adding additional functionality, leveraging their data, training additional users, and kind of throughout that life cycle so that it's not just a kind of one and done implementation, but we really are partnered together, focused on that customer success and looking at how we can, via business services, technology services and software and intellectual property enable them to continue on their growth, continue on their cycle of success. What should you expect when working with Junction Solutions? I think really you should expect something different, and truly you should expect something better than what we've seen in the market today. The founding principle of our company was that we should partner and not just be another vendor, be a technology vendor there for the implementation. We're committed to kind of overall success. We're committed to growth. We're committed to enabling your users and not just being successful with one project. The competitors that we see in the market are focused more on the solution. They're thinking more about, hey, software will solve the problems, and that's just not our experience. We think the solutions, the success is driven based on understanding the industry, having deep industry expertise, having specific industry software that addresses the problems that are unique, as opposed to forcing you to compromise and solve the problem the same way somebody would in a completely different industry. And finally, I think having the commitment to the long-term success and being there not just through implementation, but for training, for ongoing support, for upgrades, that full life cycle experience. That is really where kind of Junction differentiates itself. There's been a lot of talk over the past 10 or 15 years as ERP has grown about why projects fail. And we see three primary reasons that happens. First, we see there is poor expectation settings. This is a function of the competitive sales process, and we see this time and time again. We've seen this as we were in IT and we're customers, where the nature of that competitive sales cycle kind of compelled or forced selling teams to overcommit, to overpromise. We saw a better way. When we founded this company, it was really around the idea that, look, honesty is our core value. Let's treat people the way we want to be treated. And the idea that our sales team is comprised of our consulting team. The directors and the consultants who will execute that project are there from the start. And so you're sitting across the table and you're shaking the hand of the person who's responsible for your success. And that makes a lot of difference. We think another reason we see these projects fail is just inexperienced project team. And they may be experienced in the individual technologies, but they don't understand the business. They don't understand your industry. And that's where we have chosen to focus deeply on consumer packaged goods, food and beverage companies, and retail, so that we can have that industry expertise. We have consultants who have spent their career implementing these solutions in these industries and have solved these problems time and time again. And it's not the first time they're seeing how to deal with this unique industry challenge. I think the other challenge you'll see is partners with too little implementation experience. We have over 100 successful implementations, and that's based on a continued investment in our people, in our resources, and training. I think the final challenge that customers will face and why we see projects fail is they try to fit their business to a generic solution. They try to mold their business, change business processes so it matches the software, as opposed to saying our business process is what makes us who we are and what makes us special and gives us competitive advantage. So let's take a solution that understands that either is pre-configured and understands how to deal with these industry challenges, or is flexible enough that we can tailor it to represent that this is why we're special. This is why we're different. We want to hold on to this capability. We bring that with our industry methodology, our templates, and our tools kind of refined over these 100 industry implementations to help us really deliver that value in a specific way, as opposed to being generic and based on a software that applies to any industry.